WWE Elimination Chamber is taking place this Saturday. It is predictions time for you here in SCW. Along with the match card, I've got a very special guest joining me in a matter of moments. But before we can give you the predictions, you need the matches. So without further ado, here it is. So without further ado, let's get our special guest on with us here today. Let's get out the one, the only, NX Steve in the house. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me on.
It's great to have you on board and looking forward to diving in all things Elimination Chamber. Ben is already in house saying hi to us. Hi, Ben. Hope you are doing well. What's your initial thoughts then of this Elimination Chamber pay-per-view this Saturday? Are you looking forward to it?
I am actually looking forward to it because I know not a lot of people are fans of these Saudi Arabia shows, but the fact that it's Elimination Chamber and the Elimination Chamber always tends to be quite an exciting match to watch. I think it's going to be a spectacle, and I think that's what I'm most looking forward to, is actually just seeing an entertaining show.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, the thing is, like, we've got lots of matches that we're going to dive into, which I mean, some of them I think are quite exciting and not even chamber matches. I think WWE are putting effort in these shows all of a sudden. When we had like the super showdowns and stuff like that, like you say, people are not necessarily a fan of these shows, but they felt like glorified house shows. There's a lot more meaning behind this. And like you say, the chamber, it's one of the more consistent stipulation matches WWE do. There's not as many bad ones. There's a lot more good ones. So there's surely a lot of things to look forward to here.
Yeah, like I said, this is going to obviously, it's building towards Mania, so a lot of the matches are quite important story-wise. There's a few that are there purely for spectacle and like what the event is, but this is all their major storylines going forward towards Mania now. So this is going to be quite actually key premium live event that they're going to put on this weekend.
That's right, the PLE, as WWE like to put it over. If there was one match that you're looking forward to the most, which one would it be?
I'm going to say the men's elimination chamber match, just because the guys tend to go crazy. Well, even the ladies ones, both of them, they always look to up their game with the last one that they put on. So, like I said, I'm looking to see, especially with the likes of Austin Theory, first time ever in the chamber. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do in this type of match as well.
Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's going to be all out. Of course, they're the matches we're looking forward to the most. And like you say, both bring it on. I think both have got potential to be some of the best chamber matches ever, especially with the participants in there. They both have a sense of not fully predictable, which I think adds more excitement to it as well. We've had some great lineups in the past, some expected results. This is bit of both. We could probably narrow it down to a couple of people, but it's still not a foregone conclusion. So looking forward to diving into it. But just before we go into our first match, we've got Jackson Rick in the house. He says, sup, SCW and Steve. It's right. I'm ready for Elimination Chamber Saturday. They may go home. Raw, which is surprising. I thought Raw was pretty decent this week as well, particularly with the gauntlet match. They love to do a gauntlet match this time of year. I thought that was very good in building Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I mean, especially the fact that it was the women that had an opportunity to do a gauntlet match. This is normally a feat for the men. They do sort of January, February time going towards Mania. But yeah, it was definitely a very entertaining match. And like I said, it was a plus that it was the women doing it this time around.
Absolutely, indeed, there. And of course, Bianca Belair getting that spot then to become the final entrant in the chamber. We'll talk more about the women's match a bit later on. Just very quickly before we start, I'll answer this one. Do we see Bayley return on Saturday? I personally do not. Silk, do you feel that as well?
No, I think they're just going to hold off with Bayley till probably after Mania. Now she's probably going to be back on the Raw after Mania. I would guess.
Absolutely, unless there's a spot for on the Mania card. But yeah, I don't think it's this Saturday, it's for sure. But I think could lean towards you now. It's looking like it could be after Mania. But hey, we're here for Elimination Chamber predictions. We should really get into that first match because people are waiting. And let's start with a big one, shall we? Let's start with the Universal Championship, shall we? Let's start with Roman Reigns defending against Bill Goldberg. Now, of course, Bill, potentially his last match on his current WWE deal. Are they going to put him to a new one? Time will tell on that. We'll have to wait and see. One thing is for sure, though, if I had to say, this was meant to be at WrestleMania 36. We are getting it now. If Goldberg had to be back for one match, I do think this is the right match. Would you agree with that before giving a prediction?
100%. We should have, like I said, we should have had this match 2 years ago. It's just I think that time plays a factor in this one, and my opinion on this match, I think it's going to be a squash match, and I think Roman. I'll give you my prediction now. I'm going to say Roman Reigns is the obvious answer, but I really think this is going to be a squash match. I think he's going to possibly do what Goldberg did to Brock, and you're going to be looking at a match that lasts probably about 2 minutes, I think.
That's brilliant. And it was actually a question I was going to ask you next, because that was actually put quite heavily on SmackDown, that Roman Reigns said he was going to Goldberg a Goldberg, and that was the idea there. So we think we're actually going to get that. I think it'd be awesome if they do that in such dominant fashion. Does that, Roman Reigns is technically on another level already on his own. Would this actually put him in an even higher pedestal going into WrestleMania, seemingly being that unbeatable?
I think it makes the whole Brock versus Roman dynamic more interesting, because obviously Goldberg beat Brock in less than 2 minutes. If Roman can then go and do it to Goldberg, it will make the match more interesting, and it will put more people's eyes on the product to think, right, well, this guy's beat this guy in 2 minutes, but Roman's beat him in 2 minutes. So I reckon that's why I reckon it's going to be a squash match. And I just think it's going to add more dynamic to that Mania match.
I think it's a fantastic shout, and personally, I 100% agree with you. I think that that's going to be the method. Do you think that Goldberg gets any moves in, perhaps a spear at the start, or is just literally not even touched? Roman is unscratched on this journey.
I think the only thing Goldberg's going to get is possibly maybe a one kick out. He'll get, like, Roman will go for one pin, Goldberg will kick out, and then Roman will do another spear, another Superman punch, and just lay him to waste, and that'll be it. I think that's probably the only offense Goldberg's going to get.
I think it's absolutely genius if they go down that avenue, and personally, I think it would be the right move.
This is probably going to be the first match on the card as well. I can see that happening.
Absolutely. Well, maybe a good shout. They've put it as the first match on the stream as well then. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Well, we both think that Roman Reigns then is going to be dominant in his defense against Goldberg. One last question before I go to the comments. Just say, with Goldberg, do you think this is it? Or do you think he will be re-signed to do future matches with the company going forward? Perhaps they reckon he's on big money at the moment, perhaps less money on a future deal.
I think he may come back for another Mania match. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. I think he needs that one final goodbye match, like how Angle had against Baron Corbin, Taker did against AJ. I think Goldberg needs a match against someone that will benefit more from being put over by beating him. So whether it's, I don't know, Drew McIntyre again, or just someone that maybe even someone like, I don't know, Seth Rollins, someone that it would be a big deal for them to beat Goldberg, and it would be Goldberg's final hurrah on the main stage at the biggest event of the year.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Really, really does. Let's jump into the comments then, shall we then? Supersonic X, it says, good morning. Good morning to you, Supersonic, where you're watching from. I hope you're having a great day so far. I got to say, Roman is definitely going to Goldberg for the win. So totally in agreement here. And it seems all across the board, Ben saying Roman for the win. As well as that, we've got Alex Radford that says, I've got Roman win. What's up, SCW and Steve? Hope you're doing well, Alex. Thanks for checking out the stream. And Jason also saying that he's got Roman winning, but he thinks Big E's going to face Goldberg at the next Mania. So Big E could be a good shout.
That's Big E's dream match, isn't it, Goldberg? So yeah, that's perfect booking there. That's your one guy that could do with the rub by putting over Goldberg. And I used to listen to the New Day podcast, and all you ever listen to is Big E say that he wants Goldberg, because it's the match that he wants.
Yeah, it really, really is. And I mean, one other match I would like to see at some point, it feels like it'd be built for a Saudi show, would be Goldberg versus John Cena. Do you think there's any money in doing that match?
I don't know, because what have either of them got to benefit from it, really? This is the thing. John Cena is really sort of part-time now, and Goldberg is obviously on his sort of last legs as a performer. I don't. Sure, it'd be a great spectacle for a Saudi Arabia show. You're right there, but I said, if it's anywhere else apart from Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't see the point of it.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think the thing is, for me, looking at it, I would say that it's the opportunity elsewhere on the show with the spectacle. If the casual eyes come in for that match, maybe people may look elsewhere to say, oh, this match is on the card. It's also really, really good. And someone may get a standout performance from it. But Alex, that's a movement. Be on standby as always. But yeah, that match, it also says that match won't be good, but the story can be. Agreed with Berg and Cena. Well, it's an interesting thought. We'll have to see if it ever happens one day. But one thing for sure we do know is happening one day. In fact, it's happening this Saturday. Is this tag team match here that we've got. We've got Naomi and Ronda Rousey taking on the SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair, and of course not GM Sonya Deville here. Now this has been very well put together in my personal opinion. Before we go anywhere with this, can we just give credit to WWE here? We've got 3 women's matches on this show. There were a time where you couldn't get 1 match on this show. We've got 3. I think WWE needs a bit of credit for that.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with one of them being a chamber match as well. Obviously, the namesake of the premium live event. I'd say it just proves that things can change for the better, especially in the likes of Saudi Arabia, where women's entertainment can be broadcast to millions of people in countries like that.
Absolutely. They're really saying influencing the world, I believe the tweet was that went out. And of course, there's a lot of representation match where we see Sonya Deville as well. That'll be great to see her performing there. For me, this is a match I'm really looking forward to. Apparently, rumors in the room mill, if you believe what you see, apparently Tom Collier was one that I like to follow. And he suggested that Sasha Banks was meant to be in the Naomi spot originally. Sasha Banks is not available currently for WWE TV, but is expected back in time for WrestleMania. Naomi has this spot. And for me, it makes more sense that Naomi has this spot with a feud with Sonya Deville going on, the link up with Charlotte Flair here, and the fact is as well, I mean, Ronda Rousey, this is a big deal, a big name as well on one of these shows. This is a tag team match to look forward to, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, this is all playing towards the biggest event of the year, it's playing towards Mania. The Sonya and Naomi story has been probably, aside from Roman Reigns, has been one of the longest book stories on their actual TV production. Ronda coming back, it's a big name to put on the pay-per-view, especially going up against Charlotte, who is the SmackDown Women's Champion. So this should be a really good match.
Absolutely. The question I have had for you here is do we get the obvious where Ronda Rousey wins? She won in the Royal Rumble, but this is arguably the first match where, it's the count of the 1, 2, 3 or the submission. Does Ronda win, or does the victory get put over Naomi and Ronda technically loses that first match back to build up to WrestleMania to give Charlotte Flair an advantage going in?
I'm going to go with Naomi. I'm going to go with Naomi and Ronda losing. I think that having them in a tag match gives WWE an out to have Ronda lose the match. As much as I love Naomi, unfortunately, she's not been booked as the best against Sonya. Like, she's always been unlucky, but that's the whole point of the story. But I can see Charlotte pinning Naomi to get the victory, which, like you said, will build towards the end goal, which is Mania. I think it's just. I would like to say that Ronda's going to put on a spectacle, but I just with the outcome of this match, I'm just going to say that Charlotte and Sonya win.
Interesting, because I thought there's a chance they could win. I don't think this is as straightforward as people may make out. I just believe that obviously being in the environment they are, getting Ronda Rousey for the first time, I just feel WWE are just going to put the rocket on the back of her again. I don't know if fans are going to turn on her very quickly because of it. The smart booking, I think, would be to do what you suggested there. Fans won't turn so quickly, may remain on the babyface side. But Sonya Deville's arm has been quite vulnerable, hasn't it, on the build here? If Ronda gets hold of that, I can only see one outcome. So I'm actually going to go against you on this one. I'm going to say the babyfaces pick up the victory, but I do think that there's certainly a legitimate argument with what you feel and say. Is there anything more you'd like to add to this match before we go to the comments?
This is just probably the hardest match to decide because what the outcome should be booking wise, but of who's in the match. This is Ronda Rousey. She is one of the biggest UFC fighters of all time. It's like her first full match back. Again, it's such a 50-50 to call, but like I said, I've gone with the booking side of it, and I reckon it makes more sense to have Charlotte and Sonya win, whereas you've gone with it should be Ronda winning this end of.
Yeah, absolutely. But if fair logic usually is how things should go. I just feel WWE doesn't always go with logic. So I think that's kind of where I've gone with there. But I tell you what, the comments are torn as well. And I like that. I like not everybody's. On the first match, it was all clearly Roman Reigns, nothing else. This one, we've got it clearly going both sides here. So let's call it up, shall we? We've got Ben here that says that he sees Ronda and Naomi winning, along with myself. We've got Supersonic X saying that Charlotte and Sonya are winning because I'm tired of Naomi in tag teams with these big names like Oscar and now Ronda. So there you go. Can see the weak link in Naomi not working as a tag team specialist. Max Turner, that's what Max has got to say. He says, do you think we get Naomi lost this and then she faces Sonya night 1 and then night 2 for WrestleMania we get Naomi versus Ronda versus Sasha versus Charlotte? That's a lot to say very quickly. Quite a mouthful. Fatal 4-way for the belt, Naomi on a Daniel Bryan treatment. It's an interesting booking philosophy. I personally don't see it, but I could see Naomi versus Sonya on WrestleMania night 1. What are your thoughts with that idea?
Yeah, as much as it'd be a nice match to put on, there's no, I'd say, with Naomi winning, unfortunately not. They're not going to have Ronda Rousey lose 2 Mania events in a row. I couldn't see it happening at all. Like, with 100%, Ronda, I reckon, is going to beat Charlotte for that title at Mania. As much as I'd love to see Naomi get pushed further up the card, again, she was very underused, and hopefully they can change that going forward. She's had this profile match with Sonya Deville.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've been up for the longest time. They've had a match, but maybe something will just determine it so we can finish it off at WrestleMania. Like you say, Ronda, I mean, there's no other way. Ronda is winning at WrestleMania, but perhaps it could be that she could lose on this show. Like you say, she's not the one taking the fall. It could be making logical sense here. Jason goes on to say that Ronda and Naomi winning in the opinion there, for actually agreeing with herself here, and says, agree that if Ronda was losing this pay-per-view, that will be a shock moment and it might turn Ronda heel. Maybe I like that, Steve, because wrestling, like shock factor, have people talking. It's good to get people talking, isn't it? That's the name of the game here. I like the logic of the idea. If Ronda was to lose his first match on the show,
I mean, even if Ronda was to lose, you could even push Charlotte as even more of a heel, because I'll be honest with you, I prefer Charlotte as a heel. I think her character work as a heel is much better. So if you have Charlotte for the next 2 months just completely rubbing it in Ronda's face that she's got this victory over her at Elimination Chamber, I think it just plays more into the character dynamic. Ronda going as a heel would be fine as well, but like I said, I just prefer Charlotte as the heel in the dynamic, because Charlotte as a babyface for me has never been convincing.
no, absolutely not. No, I would totally agree. I prefer Charlotte to be the heel within this role. When it gets to Becky versus Ronda, then we can put Ronda as a heel. But at this moment, definitely not. And unfortunately, one of my graphics has disappeared as we go to our next match. So we're just going to go straight into it. The SmackDown Tag Team Championship. We've got the Usos versus the Viking Raiders here. I think this is going to be a quick one we're going to talk about because the Usos have been so dominant. I don't think the Viking Raiders have got anything in on this build. Does that mean that the championships will change hands on the show, or is it just going to be a complete squash and the Usos roll into WrestleMania as champions and the Viking Raiders never got a look in?
As much as I would love the Viking Raiders to win, my money's going to be on the Usos. I think, like a couple of weeks ago, when they actually did an interview backstage with the Raiders, it was the first time I actually saw decent character work that the Viking Raiders have been allowed to do when they were talking about their axes. I laughed it out. I thought it was really entertaining, but the Usos have been just booked so strong, and the fact that they're tied in with Roman, I just can't see them losing them titles at the minute. I think there's got to be an almighty fall from grace with the whole faction, with the whole family, I think, really. So I'm just going to say Usos retain and the family carries on strong.
Absolutely. Look, we said about a minute ago about shock factor. Sometimes it gets people talking, which that can be a good thing, but also it can be a bad thing. For me here at this point, for the Usos to lose the titles going to WrestleMania, yes, it perhaps could provide a good storyline idea with, well, the Usos have lost the belts. Is this an omen that Roman's going to lose his? The bloodline aren't as strong. I can see that avenue. That could make sense. But for me, I prefer that to be on the night of WrestleMania. So the Usos lose on night one of WrestleMania, and then it puts the emphasis on night 2. There's such a big gap between now and WrestleMania still with those amount of weeks. For me, it doesn't make logical sense for the Usos to lose those championships. So I'm with you. I think it remains pure dominance. I think the Usos retain those championships here. But I think it should be a good match. And like you say, it's good to see the Viking Raiders finally get to show some characteristics. But if the Raiders lose here, who do you see being challengers for the Usos come WrestleMania?
It's to be honest with you, I'm trying to think of who the tag teams are that are on SmackDown. I mean, the Profits on SmackDown.
No, we've got Los Lotharios are there. We've got
they've been picking up wins, but
Biggie and Kofi, but we've had the New Day technically, although you don't call them the New Day at the minute. So it's hard to know. Do we call as we've got the comments in here? We've got like MSK, for example. Could we call them up?
I'd love to see MSK come up to the main roster. I think you're not going to see any NXT call-ups now until the Raw after Mania now. So unfortunately, they're going to miss that one. But Biggie and Kofi is probably the one. We know that these four can put on solid, really good matches. You put them on the grandest stage of them all. There's your match there for Mania. But I think what you could do is book a multi tag team match, like a 6-man tag team match. I'd like just put 3 teams in there, 4 teams in there. Just give more of the roster. Put Los Lotharios in there. Put the Viking Raiders. Have like a fatal 4-way tag team match for the titles, because in that way you could have the Usos lose and without actually getting pinned. And I think it would just still keeps them strong, and you can do something with the tag team titles.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic suggestion. And Alex, of course, pointing out me that I missed out Ridge Holland and Sheamus. That certainly could be an idea as well there, Alex. So thank you for that. A big thank you to Dan, by the way, for that suggestion. I hope MSK do come up. I think that's a really good shout. But I agree with Steve. I do think it's probably not at this particular second. But yeah, the multi-man match works. Perhaps even the gauntlet. They did that last year at WrestleMania for the Women's Tag Team Championship. So there's an idea they could do that if it's a 2-night event. So certainly would be a way down. But it seems kind of unanimous here. Usos winning we've got Ben and Bob saying that here. But Supersonic X actually saying I get the feeling that the Usos might lose the titles at WrestleMania, but to who? Well, we suggested a couple of ideas of how it can play out. We'll have to wait and see. But just before we do move on, I've got a couple of comments there thrown in, so let's get the right one up here. Do we see another match being added on Friday? I can see Roman and Naomi and Ronda win, but we got our water. I don't know what with the water references. I've shown my water already. I won't keep doing that because hey, there's no one sponsoring it, so why should I? Yeah, do you see another match being added on Friday?
I don't think so. I mean, with the Intercontinental title match happening this Friday, spoilers, they're already out there if you want to know the result of it. I can't really see another match being added. You've got what I think it is six or 7 matches on the card. 8 matches on the card. Yeah, I can't see another one being added for the time frame.
No, maybe they might do like the situation of where they do a kickoff match if they want to add someone later on. I know last time they did the Usos versus the Hurt Business because they just want to have both teams involved in the show when it came to the main show. So they may do something like that. But like you say, SmackDown's already recorded. They're already set up and ready to go there. So I think everything is in wheels and motion. So and as are we as we go towards match 4 in a couple of seconds. But just before we do, good friend Discus Lariat Collective in the house. Good to see you, Warren. He'd love to see the Usos defend the titles on night 1 of Mania. Maybe cut a promo saying it's too easy. Then a multi-man tag team match on night 2 that includes the likes of MSK. Discus Lariat, he loves a bit of fantasy booking. I think it's a great suggestion once again there. What would you like to see something like that?
Just like the Hardys return at Mania. Have the same thing. Have like a 3-team man and then introduce the 4th team. Bring out MSK, for example, or even Grizzled Young Veterans because they are the most underrated team in NXT because they should have been the ones to take the titles of MSK for me. And I think they are wasting away in NXT at the minute. And they're such a great heel tag team.
Absolutely are. If you're watching this right now, all I can say is shoes off if you want to see the Grizzled Young Veterans on the main roster because certainly, like you said, they're underrated. They might as well go to Raw or SmackDown at this point. I'm sure they can be better utilized at some point on one of those brands. Certainly, there is room for another tag team. And just before we move on then, we've got Washington Eli here. It says, Street Profits said that they want Alpha Academy versus Usos versus New Day versus Los Lotharios. Okay, bro, in a ladder match for both tag team titles, winner takes all. Well, they might have said it. I'm not sure they'll get it, but my goodness, that's a lot of tag teams there in one environment. Would that be too much?
I'm gonna throw something out here, and I think at some point this year we are possibly gonna get a one-branded company again, and I don't think there's gonna be a split anymore. I think if their whole point is they're gonna do Roman versus Brock for title at Mania, someone's gonna walk out with 2 titles, and at some point this year. I think it just makes sense from a business point of view from then because they don't have this whole disagreement between the USA Network and Fox over who gets who and what brand. If you have one locker room, everyone can appear on any show. There's no arguments over that. Plus, obviously, I'm pretty sure some of them have got to be renewed within the next 12 to 24 months, the TV contracts, if they can whittle it down. Plus, with all the releases, it makes more sense, especially like this booking here. If you have all these teams in a ladder match for the titles, a unification match, I can see it happening.
I tell you what, it's a fantastic suggestion you make there. Well, maybe not fantastic if you're on Raw or SmackDown and like your livelihood of having more TV time, but I think there certainly is a possibility WWE could be going down that avenue. Certainly, if they're going to be starting to do title versus title, like you said there, the unification matches, and hey, maybe that would be a strong tag team division. Let's not kid ourselves here.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like I said, you had MSK and Grizzled Young Veterans to that. That's a stacked tag team division.
It certainly is here. And Washington says here wants to see the vets on Raw to face Alpha Academy. That could be a fun mic off, couldn't it? Thank
I want
you.
I want to see I want to see Chad Gable do his shoosh.
Yeah, to Gibson on the mic. Yeah, that would be a legendary.
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Absolutely, indeed. There. And just to say, give his predictions so far, he's got Roman, Naomi, and I believe that's meant to be Ronda there also. Comments still flying in. Rick's here saying what's up to you as well. Thank you for checking out the screen. I agree because now they can build a women's tag belt feud if they end the brand split. Certainly, because then there'll be less titles to go for, and then they can actually build and focus on doing other teams. But speaking of women's wrestling, good time you brought that, Rick. There, it's very good of you. So we're going towards match 4. Let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship match. Becky Lynch taking on the legend. That is Lita on this show. And I've got to say, very, very quickly, huge shout out to Becky Lynch. The character work going into this, the fact of that she doesn't really want to take on the inspiration for her becoming. There wouldn't be a Becky Lynch without a Lita. The fact is that she was almost depressed and really struggling to sign that contract. It wasn't just a cowardly heel. She was complete in shock and complete a mess on Raw. I thought this was fantastic character work, really added something to this match. Arguably a bit more than Lita saying, I'm a legend, I've got one more run. It's great you've got one more run, but I need to get a bit more out of it. But I think the match itself, hopefully, will be very good. What are your thoughts of Becky Lynch versus Lita?
This is going to be... It's hard to say because I haven't seen Lita fight in a one-on-one capacity couldn't even tell you when the last time I saw it. We've seen her in the Rumble matches. Yes, she can still do bits, but she's expected to do, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes in a one-on-one competition. Hopefully she can still go. I have 100% confidence that Becky can take her to a 5-star match. The whole Becky dynamic is great because like you said, the character work where she sees Lita as this icon, this essential. She's got her on the highest pedestal in the highest tower. I mean, she sees her as like an idol and all this kind of stuff. The dynamic is really good going into this match. Like I said, it's just hopefully Lita hasn't lost the touch in I don't know what it is, 15 years maybe since we've seen her do a singles match. But yeah, this could be really good.
I've got really high hopes. I mean, we did see her at Evolution. I think it was that 2018, but it was not a singles match again. It was a tag team match to kick off that show. I believe she was all right there. And like I said, she's been fine in those Rumble appearances, but this is a completely different ballgame, a one-on-one, first time in a very long time. But like you say, Becky Lynch is great with the psychology.
Yeah, the thing as well, I think as Becky's had a match at Saudi Arabia as well, which is the other thing. That's the other thing you've got to take into equation with these ladies' matches is that it's going to be a different atmosphere because of where they are there, and obviously their attire will be different because they have to wear these full body pieces. So you essentially have to almost change up your wrestling style because there'll be certain things you can't do because of the limitations of the gear you're wearing. So, for instance, like with Lita, she won't be able to wear the loose-fitting clothing. So, because obviously the exposure of certain parts of the body isn't allowed over there. So, that's the other unfortunate dynamic you have to add to these ladies' matches is that they may change up their wrestling style slightly.
Yeah, absolutely. But that could be very clever, how they sort of can adapt that, make into a match as well. Maybe they just find a way where Becky counters the moonsault before it can actually take off. Maybe it could be certain different ways they can do that. But just one little bit before we go to the comments and get the predictions as well in there, because I think this one's pretty straightforward of what the prediction is going to be. But do you think it's a bit strange that Becky Lynch here, she puts Lita on that high of a pedestal? She was challenging Ronda Rousey, had no problem taking on Ronda again at a WrestleMania, but she's in that much fear of Lita. Is Lita on too much high of a pedestal?
No, because I think if the way I presume this is being depicted is that this is essentially Becky's icon. This is who Becky grew up on. This is to everyone else. Lita is one of Becky Lynch's Mount Rushmore. And I imagine if you've watched this person growing up throughout your life and stuff, this is essentially for Becky a dream match. So to be in a dream match situation against someone who is on your essentially Mount Rushmore, I think this actually works out. I just obviously because they've never wrestled each other, it's the whole Becky doesn't know what to expect when she actually gets in the ring with Lita, which is that whole dynamic to it. I think like I said, I don't think it'll be a 6-star match. I think it'll be a decent match, but I think it's the way they've got to tell it properly so that it doesn't make Lita look like she's not as good as what Becky's put her on that pedestal to be.
I think you make a lot of sense there of what you're saying. I think you really sold me on this match. I'm looking forward to it even more than what I was coming onto this stream just by hearing you talk and discuss about the ways they can do this match and how they can use the psychology in ring. There's certainly a lot of elements to it. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be good. One last question before I get your prediction. If all goes well, Lita has a decent match out of this, does it mean we get Lita back then at WrestleMania in a one-on-one match, perhaps against someone like a Sasha Banks?
I'd actually like to see Lita team up with Trish and get a tag team title shot. I would like to see them. It was something that was never around when they wrestled back in the day. Same with the Bellas, essentially. The Bellas deserve a tag team title run at some point. But I think if you bring Trish and Lita back, stick them in a tag team, have them go up against Zelina and Carmella, I think it's a solid match. And you get fan service for a lot of the old, like I said, myself and you, that we're old enough to remember these two wrestling back in the day. And I just think it would be great fan service for that.
Absolutely, indeed. There, just to say that means we're not old; we're just old enough. But yeah, to give our prediction, and I've got Becky. I'm guessing you do as well for this one.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
I can't see Lita defending the title at Mania, but it's going to be Becky 100%.
Yeah, I see it being Becky as well there. And Ben saying here, Becky winning, but I'd love Lita to win. So Lita's got some support here. Rick saying Becky win, but if Lita wins, not going to be mad.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the consensus here. People will be happy to see Lita get this. I got Becky winning, but if Lita want to stay, I want Lita versus Bayley if she wants to stay. Randy, it's a great suggestion of a match there. I would like to see that. Match. Jason Mike here with us as well, saying got Becky win, but I like how Becky was showing more character, a vicious side to her, and the clothes she wore on Raw. Yeah, exactly. We've been seeing these loud, ridiculous outfits, and now she just looked like she couldn't even string clothes that would match together. It was very well done, very scruffy, presented everything well. The look was almost as good as the character work, and that just really set everything alight on camera. I have to agree with that. Perfect point there, Jason. Jeffrey Salmonhouse as well got Becky winning, but with Trish cost Becky and Lita wins, that would might break his glasses. Well, let's not. I wouldn't be able to see the rest of the show, would I? But yeah, I mean, to be fair, that would be certainly a game changer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. Like I said, then this brings back this could lead into the whole tag team run. These, like I said, I wouldn't be upset to see Lita win it. I don't unfortunately see it because Becky's the bigger name going into Mania.
I have to agree. Becky's she's been Raw Women's Champion now for 500 days undefeated. Remember, she gave it up to go off to be a mum, and now it was an exchange to get it back. So yeah, it's going to take something special. And again, this close to WrestleMania, I think it's Mania the place if it's ever going to be dropped. But Jeffrey Samuels just goes on to say Sasha wants to face Melina at Mania. So get ready, Steve, and add the Bella Twins in for that women's tag belt. Certainly could be good. It'll be fun to see Sasha versus Melina. They actually kicked off the Rumble this year.
Yeah, I was there a botch with that Melina spot because I don't think she was meant to be eliminated that quickly. Surely not. But yeah, like I said, it could be a decent match. I just like I said, I was hoping that was a botch at the Rumble.
Absolutely. Well, it was interesting. I mean, the way that Rumble started, my glasses almost broke to that, to be fair, how surprised that elimination went. But yeah. Superson X saying that Becky is winning because we know it's going to be Becky versus Bianca at WrestleMania. Unless they do a multi-person match, perhaps we could see Becky versus Bianca versus Bayley versus Asuka. Certainly an interesting idea there if they were to bring those ladies back at this point. We'll be giving our prediction for that with the Women's Elimination Chamber match later. But Steve, I'm not going to cut you off. There's definitely something you want to add to that comment.
No, I was just going to say this. Like people saying these multi-man matches as well. I was just about to ask you if they do end up doing this brand unification and we get one roster again, we could actually finally get Becky versus Bayley versus Sasha versus Charlotte, a match that everyone's been crying out for since the four of them come up from NXT. And it's got to happen one day, surely.
I feel like it's going to be WrestleMania 40 at this point because it feels Becky's already booked for the next two Manias. However, they're going to book her for this year. Next year would feel somewhat set in stone. But yeah, I totally agree with you. That would be the way to do it. And they need to do it one day. I know that, like you said, that at the moment, not everyone's under one roof because they like to give as much shared star power as possible. Certainly need to do it one day. But hey, this has been a lot of fun of a discussion here talking about this particular match. And like we said, we've got the chamber matches still to come. We've got also Falls Count Anywhere to come on this stream as well. But next off, I like to do rewinds on this channel. And when I first heard this match was announced, I thought I was going back to 2011. Of course, I'm talking about Rey Mysterio against The Miz. Well, I'm going to say something positive about this, despite the fact that this match seems a bit sort of like we saw this 10 years ago. I've not minded the story actually from this, with the cheating aspect here from The Miz to get a win over Dom, and then it was sort of backfired the week after, and Dom got a victory over, The Miz. Going into this show, Rey Mysterio, he's the face of WWE 2K22. Obviously, he's an iconic superstar in that right. The Miz feels like a good mid-card opponent. Are you looking forward to this match between these two?
The match will be entertaining. And like you've already stated what the reason is. Is Rey's the face of the video game, which is coming out around about Mania season, so they need to keep him promoted all throughout the next 2 months. So he'll be in premium live events. He'll be on TV every week. It's just what they're going to do to promote the video game coming out. We know these two can wrestle decent matches. The match will be entertaining. It's where it goes from here with these two, because I feel essentially Miz is just doing the same thing with Rey that he was just doing with Edge and Beth. And I really hate to see the Miz do the same thing over and over again. I'd really want him to do different stories instead of using his wife as a reason to cheat in matches and all this kind of stuff. So hopefully they can get Miz going with a better creative storyline instead of just essentially rehashing the same story. But yeah, it'll be a good match.
I think it'll be a good match. And the thing is, this is what actually conflicts you. Break a break point there of why I'm conflicted on the result of this one. I'm going to go straight into it and say, I think Rey Mysterio wins because of the fact, like we said, he's the cover of 2K, and it makes sense for him to pick up the victory this close to the game on its release. You want to make him look strong, don't you? Like we have a star on our cover, not someone that loses each and every week. But what is Miz's direction going into WrestleMania? A win, he could perhaps put him in a United States Championship contention, potentially. But I don't know what the Miz's direction is if he loses here. What would the Miz do going into WrestleMania?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. They've been rehashing the same story since January. I don't know what his goal is at the end of it. I mean, yes, you could put him into a feud with the United States Championship. I mean, Priest, I think, has run his course with the title now. So maybe it's time that we see Priest lose that title at Mania. And to be fair, Miz as a champion isn't a bad thing to see. I mean, I'd like to see him break, is it the Honky Tonk Man's record for most IC championship runs? I'd love to see him finally break that record. But at the minute, like I said, just put him in the feud with Priest then towards Mania, because I think it just to get Miz doing something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe Honky Tonk Man just say it's the longest one reign as a champion. I think he held it for a long time as one reign. I think Jericho is the one that holds it for most amount of times.
I think someone's got 11 and Miz has got 10 reigns. So yeah, I think he needs 2 more reigns to beat it or whatever. But it'd just be nice to see it as like a thank you for his years of service. Do you know what I mean? Like he stated himself, he's never injured apart from essentially the one time he did get injured. Do you know what I mean? He's been consistently there. He's proved all his doubters wrong from when he first signed. I think it'd just be a nice thank you note to him.
Absolutely. He's definitely been arguably one of, if not the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time with the amount of runs he's had with it. But as a prediction then for this match, are you going to go for Rey or are you going to go for Miz?
I'm going to go with Rey as well. It makes sense promotional-wise for the video game that's coming up.
Absolutely, indeed. There. Well, I tell you what. Then let's get back to the comments then and see what people have got to say. Then Ben saying he sees Rey Mysterio winning. Jeffrey saying we might get Rey versus Dom at WrestleMania. Then, well, what if Dom was to be the factor of why the Miz was to win this match? I can't see it happening so randomly. But I mean, would you like to see Rey versus Dom at this point of WrestleMania?
I don't think it'd happen at Mania. Just again, purely for the video game aspect. I think the game is out March 8th, so that's about a month before Mania or so. I wouldn't see this happening. This is going to be something towards Survivor Series, SummerSlam time, this eventual father versus son, or even maybe Mania next year. I think it's too early now, especially, say, with Rey being the cover star for the video game.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I have to agree with that. Despite I think maybe just too soon. It felt like 6 months ago or so when I did a video predicting Mania, I predicted that match. It felt like a good time you could build it. But like you say, all that's happened between then and now, I agree now, Mania, it feels too soon. Jeffrey also going to say that Rey winning. I'm happy Rey getting a match. Absolute legend. Wouldn't mind him facing Damian Priest. That certainly would be a fun match to see.
Yeah, I think it's just with that dynamic, you have to try and get Priest now to become the heel and dynamic, because Rey is, again, cover star of the video game. He essentially needs to be the baby face in the feud, so you've got to turn Priest heel at some point.
Absolutely, I love this suggestion, by the way, from Alex here. Miz actually helped winning helped Alpha Academy on Raw. Could the role be reversed here? Alpha Academy helping Miz win here on this show. Miz and Alpha Academy against Bad Bunny, Rey Mysterio, and Dom at Mania. Love that idea.
Sound. That's a good booking.
That's very good booking. Alex, loving your work there. And also says, give me Damian Priest versus Bad Bunny for the US title belt at Mania. And then Damian Priest can turn heel and can snap because Bad Bunny taking his spotlight. Some great fantasy booking suggestions there. Absolutely love them indeed there. I think actually there's some legs with the Alpha Academy one there, the 6-man tag team match, because they've obviously got RK Bro in a couple of weeks on Raw. So that's not going to be dragged out to Mania. That's probably going to lead to RK Bro breaking up. If I had to predict at this point, going a little bit off topic to where we're actually meant to be at this particular moment, but I certainly think there's legs in that.
Yeah, 100%. With the way everything's going on TV at the minute, that could actually be happening.
Absolutely. Supersonic X saying Rate is winning because of 2K, and Dan Rick says Miz because Omos helps him. Book it, Random versus Omos and Miz, Wardlow and MJF, because people think that Miz can get a partner to help him. Would certainly give some use for Omos because he's struggling on his own.
Yeah, I mean, they had the whole thing with him trying, like they had what was it, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander trying to recruit him this week, and it's I don't know where Omos's plans are for here going forward. Like what this whole now they've sort of taken him away from AJ as a tag team. What they're going to put him in a faction now? I don't. You should have kept him with AJ then for that point if you were just going to stick him in another group. But he seems almost lost in a minute, Omos.
I totally agree. I think at this point he's 24/7 fodder if it continues. But yeah, it's not going well for him. But it would be a surprise if Omos was to be at this show. And it's also a surprise that this next match is on the show. It's Drew McIntyre against Madcap Moss. Falls count anywhere. Sorry, everyone. We had to do it somewhere on this stream. I tried to make it as bestly placed as possible. To sort of basically give this match, I'm going to try and do this one briefly because I don't think people are too keen on seeing this match on a second pay-per-view. But the question I have for you here is, in fact, it's two questions into one. With this being Falls Count Anywhere, surely this gives license for Happy Corbin to get involved in this match. And I imagine he will. Does that lead to where it's like the Royal Rumble, where Drew destroys both of them and pins Madcap for the win in the Falls Count Anywhere? Or is it the fact that we're getting Drew versus Madcap here, that we're actually getting Drew versus Happy Corbin at WrestleMania? Please don't hit the thumbs down button.
I don't even want to think about that, man. Because this Corbin really irritates me. Not him essentially, but his booking, because I would love nothing more than to see Corbin actually do something. But again, time after time, he's another one that's kind of like the Miz, that they just book him in the same situation. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of the Happy Corbin thing. The Madcap Moss character isn't actually that bad, and it's actually good to see Moss actually on TV doing something. The dynamic with him, but it's like these two should be a tag team. Why am I seeing Madcap Moss going up against Drew McIntyre? I know they're trying to sort of keep Drew away from this title scene until God knows when, because like you said yesterday, it could be him that takes the title from Roman, maybe at SummerSlam this year. Who knows? But this seems like a kickoff show. This should be a kickoff show match. Like the fact that it's Falls Count Anywhere, it means it's not going to be on a kickoff show. But yeah, it's probably going to be like, just like you said, it's probably going to involve Corbin getting involved, Moss picking up the win, and it's just going to end up in, like, for instance, a steel cage match between Corbin and Drew at Mania, possibly.
That wouldn't be a bad suggestion of how to do that, mate. I mean, if you're going to do Corbin versus Drew at Mania, I mean, that you'd at least do it with a stipulation. I miss Corbin when he was poor. It was so fun and entertaining to watch. But like you say, just get the guy to do something. He has got good natural heel heat. But the thing is, they just give him this ridiculous stuff to do where it becomes go away heat. That's the sad part and fact of the matter of it. But yeah, I mean, ultimately with this, it comes down to a prediction. Like you say, it's going to be on the main show here. I really don't want to say Madcap Moss is winning this because Madcap, he eliminated AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble. You've got to do that for a reason. If you want to build new stars, they've got to get wins somewhere. But a part of me just can't bear to do it. I've got to say Drew McIntyre for the win. I just can't see Moss winning this match, even if it's 2-on-1.
I'm going to be that guy and say Madcap Moss. Unfortunately, it's the only thing that will keep Drew busy for the next 2 months leading into Mania, I suppose, that we get. I mean, what's the next pay-per-view after this?
It is Mania. This next
There's
time it is
nothing after this until Mania.
Do not believe we've got Fastlane this year.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right, actually, because I think they scrapped it, didn't they? Yeah. Oh, yeah, then it's going to be the only thing that's keeping him busy now until Mania. We're just going to see him at some point eventually beat Madcap Moss in a match, and then it will eventually lead to Corbin versus Drew at Mania, which is the weirdest booking ever.
Certainly could be indeed there. Well, that's what we think. Let's go into the comments then. It seems to be we've got Drew winning here from Jeffrey. We've got Max saying Drew wins, so we get another match added on Friday. And do we get another match added on Friday? No Mansoor. Well, that's true. Why is there no Mansoor on this show?
I honestly thought you would have had Mansoor and Ali picking up the tag team titles at the last show. I honestly thought that, and then obviously they went the complete opposite and had them in a one-on-one match. Could not tell you. I can't even remember the last time I saw Mansoor on TV. I think he might have been in the 24/7 scene at some point.
May have been. He may have been. He probably is doing some backstage stuff somewhere. He's not been on TV for a while. But what I will say is,
he'll be there.
That may be a match that's added, whether it's the kickoff or whether it's on the main show itself. Mansoor will definitely be there in some fashion.
Maybe Mansoor is Drew McIntyre's hero, and in the 2-on-1, Mansoor could come out to save Drew McIntyre, and we get Mansoor and Drew versus Madcap and Baron at Mania.
It's random, but it could work. It certainly would work on Saturday. That's what I'd say. It'd certainly work on Saturday, and I mean, I'd be up for it for a SmackDown. I wouldn't be for Mania personally, but yeah, I think the booking that could make some logical sense. It's fun sometimes how comments can really add into logic of where we are in the stream here. So Max, shout out to you for mentioning Mansoor. I do think he will have a match on the kickoff, and I do think he'll win it. And like you said, if he's a savior, that would be interesting. Ben thinks Drew is winning. We've got Derek saying, "I've got Drew win."
You're all crazy going with Drew. I don't know. You're mad. I don't know why you all back him.
Do you think Drew is still injured? He worked hurt before when he was ready to face Roman. Maybe that's why he's not on a live event. I mean, Drew has been back now, so I do think there is an opportunity that. He should be fine to go. He's been back since the Rumble, hasn't he? So I'm guessing he's all right.
Yeah. I think they've just kept him off live events and just kept him to TV appearances. But even then, he still hasn't really wrestled. But I presume if he's having a Falls Count Anywhere, which is essentially a hardcore match, he must be ready to go.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, like you say, the toy's going to come out to play in this one. Drew winning, but let's hope there's no souls involved. Let's bloody well hope not especially. We won't even go into it. Drew McIntyre winning. And now just another comment as well that's coming from Jeffrey as well. We might get Omos versus Lashley for Mania for the WWE belt. And SC called it. Sheldon and Cedric want Omos to join him. I think that it might be right. Well, it'd be interesting if Omos did, along with MVP. If that would be the case, I'm guessing you're going with that in the comment there, Jeffrey. It's a match I don't want to see, I'll be honest, at WrestleMania. But Omos and Lashley, do you reckon he's got legs in that?
Nah. Lashley's too high up on the card for Omos at the minute. Omos still needs another 12 months before you even think about putting him in a match with Bobby Lashley.
Absolutely. You've been complimented on your ponytail as well, NX Steve. They're saying that you've got the Brock Lesnar look going on there as well. There, which
I had mine before Brock. He copied me.
Absolutely. And I can vouch for that as well. Steve has been on a number of these videos before, so yeah, Brock has obviously seen this and has seen inspiration, and you can't blame him for that either.
The only thing is he does it better than me. That's the worst part.
I'm Team NX Steve all the way here, but I'm not gonna back you if Brock's coming for us. I'm not on about that. But what I will say is, I think people have waited a while. Let's give them what they want. Let's talk about a chamber match, shall we? Let's talk about the women's elimination chamber match, and I've won contenders match as well. We've got Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Doudrop, Alexa Bliss, and Nikki ASH. Now, of course, the key details about this, of course, we had the gauntlet match on Raw. Rhea Ripley having 44 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Bianca Belair, of course, ultimately will be going in this chamber last. And Alexa Bliss is, well, finished with therapy, it seems. As long as she keeps Lily by her side, she should be fine. Alexa Bliss has announced herself in this elimination chamber, taking up the mystery spot. And we'll start with the mystery spot, because was you surprised that Bliss took it and we didn't get a return?
Yeah, I mean, like you could have easily thrown Bailey into this scenario, but I think Bailey is too big of a name for this match to find an opponent for. If like a lot of people have already got an outcome to this match, and if you throw the likes of Bailey in there, I think Bailey is too high profile for the other 5 competitors. Like, I think a lot of people would expect Bailey to win this match if she was coming into it because she is essentially the biggest name on paper. And it's actually, I'm actually happy with Alexa Bliss being in this because if she's now going back to this whole goddess character dynamic, I think it's a lot better for her, and I'd rather see her go back to that now, so we can kind of wash away the whole Lily appeal. I mean, I know she's still gonna have the doll and stuff with her, but we just need to get rid of the bad taste out of our mouth from this whole Lily thing.
We do. I fear, though, and this is what I'm going to say nice and early, because I spoke about this on the stream yesterday. I weren't sure what Bliss's role would be on this match. And, of course, they said that she needs to keep Lily to be okay. And she's kind of like, yeah, whatever. If she brings Lily to this match and it doesn't work out, that could do more for the character to try and get away from Lily Doll. But if WWE thinks it's clearly a good marketing, it sells well and stuff like that, could it be a case that Alexa Bliss doesn't bring Lily to this match and loses, and that brings her journey and her story going into WrestleMania with this conflicted character of trying to be a goddess and still mixed up with what's going on with Lily? Because it feels like we've not got this definitive character finalized yet.
I don't think this character, I don't even think they've had this character defined since they thought of it. I mean, what we all expected when it first started with Bray Wyatt, it's nothing how we thought it was going to be. And it's just one of them things that's been, I think, been used as a cheap marketing ploy to sort of sell merchandise, but has done nothing for the on-screen product. Like I said, like with the, what was it when we saw the doll come to life and she was chasing Shayna Baszler around one of the arenas one night? It's never done anything for me. Like, they tried to make this like a Chucky film essentially, and I've never personally seen the appeal of it. And to me, I'd rather it just be gone altogether. But I'm not the one, unfortunately, that does the marketing and the action figures and the toys and the t-shirts and stuff like that. So if it's going to stick around, it's going to stick around. I'll just have to deal with it.
And so would I, because I was really hoping Lily was done. But yeah, it feels like there could still be some characteristics with that. But for me, I'm not sure that Alexa Bliss wins this match despite being brought in at the last minute. It kind of felt like it was supposed to maybe throw a lot of people's opinions and a lot of sway going into Elimination Chamber. But I do think that Alexa Bliss has got her own story. Like you said, people got their stories wrapped up here going into WrestleMania. And I think Bliss is a different direction to the Raw Women's Championship.
Yeah, 100%. It's not something people would be expecting. And I'm looking at the list of the names here, the 6 people in it. And this is quite a hard one because you've got at least 4 names maybe 5 names that could win it. It is really hard to call, but I don't see Bliss doing it. I don't think it's the right time for her to be back into a title scene, especially if this is to go up against Becky at Mania. It's not the right time for it.
No, absolutely not. And let's go through some of the names there to sort of try and rule a few more people out. Nikki ASH has not been on any form of run of late. It seems that her character it's great to see her in this match, but I just don't believe that they've got any direction for her. I'd be surprised if she's even on the menu card at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I think that they, I don't think this went over as well as they planned it or hoped it to. Like this whole Nikki ASH wannabe Hurricane kind of thing. I think the character's sort of, that's why they've turned their heel, because it's not very often that you see a character like this turn heel. Like, I don't think I ever remember seeing the Hurricane or Mighty Molly turn heel. So yeah, I just don't think this one's gone over as well as it has. And I think she essentially is just she's just essentially a third wheel in this match, and she's just in it for the sake of being in it, this one.
I can agree. I see her entering the chamber like 3rd or 4th and being eliminated in the same 5 minutes.
She'd probably be the first one eliminated for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So that's one question I don't have to ask already, because that was one of them I was going to ask later in. I think the same thing. I think she goes first. Doudrop had her chance at the Rumble. Can't see her getting it at Mania.
No, but like I said, it wouldn't surprise me because they've still built her quite well. To be fair, she still had high profile. She still had high profile matches. But she's the wrong character dynamic going forward for Becky at Mania. Again, she's essentially a heel as well, and the whole heel face dynamic. It doesn't make sense for me for Doudrop to win this. But it wouldn't surprise me because they've booked her well.
They have booked her well, and I think that she's going to put someone else over on that road to WrestleMania. Liv Morgan had a chance at day one, of course, was on a losing effort. Not had the strongest run since. I think Liv Morgan's getting a break from the championship run at the minute. I personally don't see her winning this match, which obviously sees the direction where I think could be going. But what are your thoughts?
As much as I would love Liv Morgan to win this match and go on to Mania and win the title, it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. They seem to Liv just they push her like 95% of the way, and then when it comes to that last 5% and actually winning the title, it always just doesn't go her way, unfortunately. Hopefully one day she will win a title because she's such a massive fan favorite. Like every time she comes out, every time she's been in a title match, crowd is behind her 100%. It'd be almost on par with Becky beating Sasha at Mania a couple of years ago if Liv was to go on to Mania and win it. I can't see it happening, but if it did, it would be amazing.
It would be. I'm going to say it now. I think Money in the Bank is the destination for Liv Morgan later this year, and I think that's when she'll get her push going from there.
That's a great shout.
So, now it comes down to two left for me where this could go to. Then, is it the one that had the big push on Raw for 44 minutes in Rhea Ripley? Usually they do this with superstars and usually it can help them build their match to WrestleMania, but we've seen the likes of Kofi in the past, doesn't win the chamber match. We've seen it with Seth Rollins back in 2018, doesn't win the chamber match. I don't think I'm giving it away here. I think Bianca is going to be winning this, but I'm going to go into more discussion of Bianca in a minute. I think Rhea Ripley could be down to the final two here, though, or possibly the final three. Rhea Ripley had an amazing performance on Raw, and do you think that she's now going in the right direction and being built correctly again? Because it feels like she had a strong 2022 so far.
Yeah, I mean, now that they've sort of removed her from the whole Nikki ASH story, she's had her tag team title run. She can now focus on being a singles competitor again. But like this is really hard to pick between the two of them. I mean, I wouldn't mind either of these ladies going on to Mania. They'd both be great matches, but I think for me, it's got to be Bianca. I think Rhea's done well, but I think this is unless I don't know. This is what I mean because they're both essentially face characters, so you couldn't even have Rhea be Bianca's next opponent after it because you need the change the dynamic in one of the characters. I mean, maybe we get Rhea as a heel. I don't know. Maybe this could be the start of something. I don't know. Maybe gets screwed over in the match and it turns her to become heel, and then we have Bianca win, go on to Mania, beat Becky, and then Rhea is her next opponent as a heel because she now has a new dynamic. It's something I haven't seen for a long time with Rhea is her play a heel character perspective, not since NXT days. And I feel that she's had enough time as a face now that we might need to see that change and maybe see something new because she's had time as a face. She's improved her character essentially, and she could change it going forward as a heel.
But it's a fascinating idea of what they could do with her going forward. It was very conflicting, wasn't it, when she came up to Raw and SmackDown or Raw last year? We didn't know what we were getting from one week to another, but I think they were trying to present her as a babyface at that point. Like you say, it could be interesting what they're going to do, but I think it'll be a fresh matchup. We got Rhea Ripley against Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. That's certainly be something I would be down to seeing. With Bianca Belair, obviously, I've said that's my prediction, and with this match here, she is the one that's going in though. Last into the chamber. She has the advantage here. Usually when WWE does this sort of thing, they don't come out on top. Is that trying to throw us here that they think, well, hang on, because Bianca's coming in sixth, that she's not going to win, or they are just going to do the expected and Bianca goes in, cleans house and picks up the W?
What you say is right. If we go with logical WWE booking, like the whole whoever wins on the go-home show normally loses on the pay-per-view kind of thing and stuff like that. And like you said, yeah, whoever normally comes in last doesn't normally win the match. But I think Becky's been since this has been a feud essentially since SummerSlam when Becky pinned her in 30 seconds. I think this needs to culminate with Bianca redeeming herself and winning that title from Becky.
I totally agree with you. I think that has to be the direction now. Now that we're not getting Ronda versus Becky, it's the only match for me that makes sense. Therefore, I think we have to go with Bianca to win this match. But as the final two, who do you reckon is going to be the runner-up in this match? It's hard to pick for me. I've got 3 or 4 that, like you say, easily could, but I will stick with Rhea Ripley as the runner-up.
I'm going to go with Doudrop. I think Doudrop is again. It's you can't. You don't. I couldn't see him having one face pin another face for the victory. It would make more sense to have a heel like Doudrop take the pinfall. So I reckon Doudrop will be the the runner-up.
I like the idea of that, and certainly we'll keep her strong as well there. One last question then for you. Who do you reckon will be the two that start the chamber match?
I am going to go with... I'm going to go with Rhea again. I'm going to say Rhea's going to go Iron Man and Iron Woman, sorry. She will go the distance, but she will be the third to last eliminated. And Alexa Bliss, I reckon.
Interesting, because I think that's one of... I agree with you with Rhea. I'm going with Rhea. I've gone with Bliss or Liv Morgan for the spot, because Liv Morgan could be someone that can carry a match and has got the experience in the chamber if you want.
Yeah.
So that could be. But Alexa, we said about Nikki ASH being the first one eliminated. If Alexa want to do the storyline that I just said about a few minutes ago, the idea that she doesn't bring Lily and it all goes pear-shaped and she's eliminated before someone can come out of a pod, and Bliss is the first one eliminated by Rhea Ripley, that could really set that story into motion. The fact that she's come back, that journey to come back, and then all of a sudden it goes pear-shaped within a couple of seconds, and we see that she's got to go back in that therapy chair on Raw. Do you reckon there's something like that could happen?
I mean, it could do. I mean, they've started to get a bit more creative with stuff with Chamber over the last couple of years. Like we had was it AJ, when the back of the pod, we got Omos to break the back of the pod off last year, so he could get into the ring. Like I said, I'm expecting to see a new dynamic to one of the matches this year. If they do it with Alexa Bliss, like I said, whether it's something as simple as, I don't know, someone throws Lily in one of the pods and they lock the pod closed so she can't get to it. So she's having to bang on the chamber wall saying, oh, I don't know, she has to put herself through the pod door to get to Lily or something. I don't know, something crazy like that.
It wouldn't be a surprise there, but yeah. So final shout there. Are we both going with Bianca Belair just before we go to the comments?
Yeah,
we are going. We are going there. So now we're going to go to the comments to see what you all think here. And the first thing that has been said here by Jason Mike is Steve versus Brock at SummerSlam. Book it Vince UFC style. Jason, I think that you've got a twisted mind. I'm just going to say that out there now.
I'll do the fetal position and quite easily give up.
I don't think you get much of a match there then at SummerSlam there.
No.
I don't think it's going to be worth having there, Jason. Definitely not worth your $9.99 on Peacock or whatever that you have to pay. Dan Rick says he's got Doudrop winning because why? Well, she wants Becky point free to make SCW happy and then win with another good match. I mean, it would be interesting if Doudrop was to get there, like we said there, Steve, with you there. The idea that she's been booked strongly could be fun to see. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun prediction there from Dan. Supersonic X saying that Bayley is definitely too big to be in the chamber match. I don't know why Asuka was in the chamber match 2 years ago, but she's also too big to be in the chamber match. So that's an interesting thought. Asuka was the one I thought it would be before we got announced to be Bliss, and say it was a bit of a surprise, but yeah, we'll have to see what the direction will be and when they'll come back. As NXT said earlier, perhaps now the Raw after Mania could be the destination for them both. Alexa Bliss maybe turns Nikki ASH into Crazy Cross, but I got Belair to win. I like the idea from Max. I mean, Cross needs, or Nikki ASH needs the character change. Obviously, that name change as well happened initially because Karrion Kross was coming to the main roster. There's no Cross anymore. They could go back to Nikki Cross if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea, and have sort of Lily poison Nikki's mind, and then I don't know, have Alexa is in a kind of almost like a manager role for Nikki. I mean, it's too easy to say maybe a tag team, but I don't know. Just make the Alexa Bliss character interesting and just do something that isn't what they've been currently doing with it.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly be interesting whether it's manager or tag team for me. We need those teams, so I'd be down for both. Yeah. Creative, Max liking the idea there. Ben says Liv or Bianca winning for that one there. Bob's got a plot twist for us now, everybody. Bayley shows up and pulls an edge on Kofi with Nikki as a let me start that again. Very sorry there indeed. Pulls like an edge on Kofi many moons ago, and I believe that was No Way Out 2009, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob. Bayley does that to Nikki ASH and then wins the match. Imagine, but anything can happen like that. SCW, they say, what if Roman was to attack Riddle with the WWE belt and get the heel heat, especially if Goldberg was to win the belt earlier in the night. But yeah, there's definitely some ideas there from Bob. Definitely seems to have some flashbacks there from No Way Out days. Could something like that happen? That would be interesting.
It's not impossible. It is a possibility. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it with someone, Bayley would be the ideal character. Really, she takes out a Liv Morgan. She takes out even a Rhea Ripley, essentially, because you need that heel again. The heel face. I know I bang on about it all the time, but it needs to be a face that she takes out. Liv Morgan is the ideal one. If Bayley was to do it, come out, take out Liv Morgan, take her spot. But again, unfortunately, I still say it needs to be Bianca that wins this to go on to Mania. She needs her redemption from SummerSlam.
Yep, she really, really does, and I agree with that. Alex says here, give me Doudrop, aka Niven against Rhea Ripley at Mania. We sort of saw it, didn't we, on Raw? But yeah, I think it was a great match between the two ladies. Was happy to see it again.
Yep, solid.
We've got a mention here about Bianca's hair whip ponytail. Steve, would that be something you'd be interested in growing at that length?
Unfortunately not, but it's a heel dynamic. This is why we don't see it as often. And if you go back to NXT days with Bianca, she used to use that thing every week, and that's why we only saw it against Sasha at Mania, because it's a heel dynamic. So when we finally get a Bianca Belair heel turn, that's going to be the main thing. You're just going to hear the crack of that hair every week. But no, unfortunately, I couldn't grow my hair that long. I think my wife would kill me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it would take real dedication to get it that long as well. I goodness knows how long Bianca has been growing her hair for that length. But
that's extensions. But it's extensions. Her hair's not actually that long. Her hair's about shoulder length. But yeah, that whole ponytail was a big extension.
I imagine it was extension somewhere, but I mean, yeah, perhaps it would be that length as well there. But yeah, interesting stuff indeed. What if Nikki ASH pulls a win, pulls an Otis, and then the losing is that heel? Will you be mad? I mean, to be fair, if Nikki ASH wins this, then I'll have to eat me words, wouldn't I? Because I say she's got no chance in hell.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense going to Mania why you would have Nikki ASH versus Becky.
Absolutely. It's got Margin House there says, sorry, SCW and Steve's up. Steve got a point. Bliss can win, and we can get heel Rhea versus Bianca at Mania, where matches had a fresh match with no title, and that would be a good thing to bring it back. I mean, yeah, it would be a great match to see Bianca versus Rhea at WrestleMania. I enjoyed the exchange they had on Raw this past week.
Yeah, like I said, it's again this whole thing. It's Bianca's redemption story. This can't go any other way. I'll be very, very surprised. I would eat my own hat if it happens that way and we don't get Bianca versus Becky. It's just it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. Can we get that on a live stream?
Possibly.
There we go.
There we go.
There's
Sorry, Premium Live Event. Premium Live Event.
Premium Live Event there. But start a Patreon page for that. Supersonic X says Rhea and Nikki ASH because Nikki ASH is nothing but cannon fodder. I'm assuming that's for the first two to start in the chamber. I'm guessing they're from Supersonic. Got Bianca win here. What if we get a crazy scenario that Alexa he'll live to join her? That'd be an interesting dynamic to see them two as a team there. We've got a simple lull from Jason. I don't need to bring that one on the screen there, but definitely enjoyed something in this stream. And also Supersonic X, I think Asuka and Bayley should return. If not for this year's WrestleMania, they will return for WrestleMania. Definitely before WrestleMania 39. There's no question about that. I think the latest we'll see them is April back if they are not back before. But that's pretty much what everyone's got to say. That has been all about the women's chamber. Should we go on to the men's?
Let's go for it, mate.
Let's do it. Well, I'll tell you what, it's the WWE Championship then. We've got the champion, Bobby Lashley, defending against the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles. We've got Austin Theory. We've got Seth Rollins, and we've got Riddle. And I should correct myself, it's Seth freaking Rollins there for you. What a lineup there for that Elimination Chamber. Honestly, this both chamber matches have potential to be the best of all time, but this for me, I look at that, and I'm going to pull the graphic up again just one more time if you don't mind here, because looking at it, I mean, I genuinely look at it and say, I believe it's too soon for Austin Theory. I do believe after Riddle and a Toga this week, it's not going to happen. But overall, I mean, I do think everyone has got a realistic shout in some format. But I'll start with talking with AJ Styles, if you don't mind, Steve, on this, because we'll go through the superstars one by one and get your thoughts on them and see if you agree with me that there's a lot of chances or not. AJ Styles obviously lost very convincing, it felt, in a quick fashion on Raw to Damian Priest. Was that a bad thing to do on the build of this show, or should he have actually gone in as US champion?
I think this is foretelling what's going to happen in the chamber with AJ. I think it's just one of them things where they want to push AJ to the top. They want to presume I don't know what their plans are for him going towards Mania, but I think they've used this as a sort of premonitions to what's going to happen in the chamber, and he's not going to win this match for me. That's the whole reason why I think they've done that. I don't think they'd have him put on such a strong show and then essentially be like one of the first 2 people eliminated in the chamber match. It doesn't make sense for me. I think they've essentially booked him weak to have him lose the chamber match.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. To be honest, after this week, I've lost my feeling a little bit that AJ Styles could walk away with the championship, and then we see him versus Edge at WrestleMania for that. I still think we could get Edge and Styles at Mania, but I just don't think a championship would be involved. And it wouldn't need to be
You don't
necessarily
need it.
involved.
Don't need it, no.
Let's talk about
definitely.
Riddle. Let's talk about Riddle, because Riddle obviously was in the toga this week, getting basically a hiding really at the end there with the Alpha Academy. Randy Orton did not go dressed up in a toga. So yeah, I mean, do we feel that Riddle doing this comedy stuff here, it's taking him out of the dynamic to be champion, or is this just a whole smoke show that we're not a smoke screen, if you want, and we're not seeing what could be coming ahead this Saturday?
I think this is actually possibly foretelling. I think they're putting him in the match with Brock to see what kind of in-ring chemistry they may have for future booking, because I think Riddle and Brock is a match that they possibly want to do. It's obviously there's been a lot of controversy behind these two in the past. Same with how Riddle went on about Goldberg and stuff. I think it's just I think it's an early look at what we could possibly get in the future with these two, and Riddle's in there to see his chemistry with the other, with the bigger names, with your Seth Rollins, your Brock Lesnar, your Bobby Lashley, just to see how he can cut it, because the rumors originally were he was going to win the Rumble, and I think this is just seeing if he can hang with the big boys essentially, and whether he's worth getting behind and to push him to the top of the card.
I think that makes a lot of logical sense. I actually thought originally that they were putting him in this spot because then it would take his focus away from the tag team titles, and this would lead to the breakup of RK Bro. But it seems to be that at the moment it feels that Randy Orton's the side that's letting it down. He was the one that thought that Riddle wasn't paying attention, but he was the one that lost them the tag titles, and he wasn't there in the defense when Riddle got attacked backstage this past week. It's only when Alpha Academy came out during Orton's match with Seth Rollins that we saw Riddle make the save there. Do you reckon eventually Riddle could be the one that could lose patience and turn heel?
I don't think so with the way his character's portrayed, because he's essentially booked as, or presented as someone who enjoys substances that are not always legal, should I say. And I don't think his character dynamic would work with him being the one that gets annoyed with Randy. It doesn't make sense. But then like I said, it could be something that pushes him over the edge, where he's tried to be Randy's friend for 12, 18 months, and he just finally gets to the point where he's just had enough with him.
Absolutely. Or it could be the case that Randy sees that Riddle can still get everything done and still actually do everything right. He's just the one that's letting the side down and thinks, screw this, I'm going to take Riddle out.
Maybe Randy gets annoyed that Riddle keeps getting these opportunities at having possible title matches. Like he's in the chamber. Why wasn't Randy in the chamber? Do you know what I mean? It could be a jealousy point of view where Randy just goes, you know what? I'm sick of you getting all the opportunities and never going past the point to actually do something with it. Why should you keep getting opportunity after opportunity to fight for the top title when it should be me? And this could lead to the eventual breakup.
Certainly makes a lot of sense there. Let's move on to Austin Theory and the Mr. Selfie himself there. Love the way it was presented with Brock on Raw. I thought that was really, really entertaining. I've already said outright, I don't think he's got a chance to win this chamber match. But again, as you said earlier on the video, a lot of these things to be sort of grooming for the future. Austin Theory is someone that seems to be definitely getting a rub for the future, a top megastar in the works here. Given this opportunity to be here, he was on Team Raw at Survivor Series, a great showing for nearly half an hour in the Royal Rumble. Austin Theory is going to be a big time deal in WWE for a long, long time to come, and to have this experience being this match with the amount of Rhea talent in this match is going to do nothing but wonders for his career, surely.
100%. I mean, he's essentially, I reckon he's essentially put in here to be your Rey Mysterio. He's essentially, or your Kofi. He's in there to do the big spot, whether it's climbing up the chamber and dropping down on top of people, whatever it's going to be. I think that's what Austin Theory is essentially in this match for. But this is going to do nothing but wonders for him. Like, this is now going to push him into hopefully a mid-card scene where we see him go for an IC title, a US Championship, whatever it is, which will then lead on to things with, again, same with how I think Riddle is in this match, that this is all to see his dynamic with the big boys going forward, whether he is worth putting the time and investment in for WWE to push him up the card. But like you said, we've all seen it on TV. He's been doing skits with Vince McMahon for God knows how many weeks now, and it's like, I'm sorry, when was the last time we saw Vince McMahon in this much of a capacity with purely one superstar focused? I mean, we've not had this since essentially Stone Cold. Not to say Austin's going to be the next Stone Cold. Not to say Theory is going to be the next Steve Austin, but Vince obviously sees something in him. And again, like I said, same reason Riddle's in here. This is going to see if he can hang with the big boys and if he's worth putting the time and investment into.
Totally agree with a lot of what you said there, and I think Austin Theory is going to be a mainstay for years to come, and it's great for him to be in this environment. I do think he'll actually be your next US champion against Damian Priest at WrestleMania. I think that's my predicted direction for it. Well, we've kind of ruled 3 people out. Let's see if we can talk about another and see if he's ruled in or out on this. Seth freaking Rollins. Seth for me is someone that could walk away a winner of this match, but I'm not sure if it's the story that I think WWE are going to want to tell in this match, which is why I'm a bit reluctant to pick him as my winner. But I think Seth could be a potential journeyman in this match, could do really, really well. Seth obviously had a great performance in the Rumble. It looked like he was going to win the championship at day 1, if you believe the rumors at one point. Then it was Big E that was rumored to retain, so it's hard to know. Could Seth Rollins walk away as champion here?
He could. I mean, we obviously had the match, the teaser with Roman and all this kind of stuff previously. I love Seth Rollins, man. I've got nothing to say bad against the guy. He's one of the best characters in WWE. He can wrestle. He can do a lot of the things. It's just, unfortunately, I don't think we're WWE going to go. He could win, 100% he could, but I just don't think it's what they want. Brock versus Roman title for title, and I just can't. I wouldn't be against it. I just can't see it happening.
Okay, so that's fair. I think that's fair there. I'm going to ask another question, and as with that also, do you reckon? Because I predicted this on the live stream yesterday. I said I think this would be the direction at this moment. If I had to guess, Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley, I reckon could be a WrestleMania match. Do you think that there could be an opportunity they could build for that match in the Chamber this Saturday, as they're both in there?
They could do, but if you're going to go with that dynamic, I would probably go with Bobby retaining then, because I think with the too short time frame for these two going into Mania, I think you need a reason for them to have this match, and it would make more sense for them to be fighting over the WWE title, and then you would still have Brock go on and face Roman for the Universal Championship. It could happen, but like I said, I think they need a title involved in that one.
I would agree with that there, with that scenario. It would be interesting how they're going to play it out and if they will do the title versus title. This is what I think is going to play out for the match. So just give a quick narrative story and then I'll give my predictions. I believe that you said near enough Brock Lesnar you think would be the one that's going to be winning this match here. I think that we're going to get the other 4 that we mentioned already in the Chambers, the first 4 participants. Then when we get Lashley and Lesnar in there, it's going to be about one-upsmanship. It's going to be pure dominance, meat throwing people around and eliminating everybody, leaving them 2 as the final 2 in the Chamber. Can you say there's a possibility?
Yeah, it sounds. That is probably what will happen. You're going to get, for instance, I don't know, but Brock's going to come out at number 5. He's going to do an F5 to someone, pin someone. You're then going to get Bobby come out. He's going to get him into the hurt lock. They're going to tap out. They're going to be limited. Then Brock's going to eliminate the 3rd person. Bobby's then going to eliminate the 4th, and it's just going to be these 2 standing left, and they're going to go at it once again. And it's going to be. I'm really excited to see this because this is essentially the last major story plot twist now going into Mania. So this is what's going to set it all up, and I say it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be mega exciting as well. Then I think that certainly if you have them 2 as the final 2, I think that's the dynamic. Does Bobby Lashley retain? Does Brock Lesnar take the championship there? You can get a clear, decisive winner as well with those 2 without having to, have the Roman Reigns shenanigans stuff going on there. The thing for me is, I mean, you said Brock a minute ago there. I still wonder if there's a chance Lashley could retain, but at the same time, a bit me just feels Bobby's tried to do the Scott Steiner mass this past Monday on Raw. He is saying that it's 1 in 6 chance. When it's Lashley, it's 100%. Everyone else takes exception to it. I don't know. I just feel WWE had not really been clear of what they wanted to do with the title direction.
The thing, the good insurance policy that the WWE have is that Brock won the Rumble, so no matter what, we're getting Brock versus Roman. It's just all a case of whether they want to do title for title. What their plans are going forward, whether they want to go back to one roster show or like have one roster across the 2 shows, it's up to them. But like I said, they're still going to get Roman versus Brock. And it's just, like I said, if Bobby retains, it would be a shock factor because I think everyone's expecting Brock to win this and have title for title. But yeah, it could happen, man. I say I wouldn't be against Bobby retaining. And like you said there, like you booked a minute ago, we could get Seth versus Bobby going into Mania.
If Bobby was to retain, last couple of questions before we get to full predictions into the chat. If Bobby was to retain here, we mentioned the idea that Roman got involved at the Rumble. Could you find that Roman perhaps finds a way into the chamber to stop Brock winning again?
I don't think there'd be a point though, because Brock's already got his match. What would Roman have to gain by getting involved in the match? Do you know what I mean? Because if anything, you would kind of want Roman to want Brock to win it, so that when Roman beats him at Mania, if he does, Roman's got all the titles, and it's like that just makes Roman even more stronger than what he needs to be. So I can't see a reason as to why he would need to get involved. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it could be for that. Maybe he just wants to play mind games with Brock and then screw him over. It could happen, but like I said, I don't think so. I think if you're Roman and you know you've beaten Brock in the past and you can do it again, if he's got a title, then you know you can take that title off of him.
Absolutely, indeed. There, no, I agree with that 100%. It's logic, ladies and gentlemen. Last question I'm going to ask them before I give a go into full predictions. Then is: do you want to see title versus title at WrestleMania, or do you think it'd be better to see two championship matches rather than the Roman versus Brock dynamic that's heavily rumored?
I'll be honest with you, I'd actually be happy with either. I think. Excuse me. Sorry.
That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, I'd be happy with either. I think the title versus title dynamic is good because it builds Roman as a character more, and it makes him even more powerful, so that when we do eventually get your savior, the one that finally beats Roman, and it's going to look amazing. But then again, I don't. The story, there's such a story in place with these two, that the title isn't necessarily about the title. This is just about egos, really. Yeah. It's more about, let's say, Paul Heyman and stuff like that. So the title is just essentially a side piece to this match.
Absolutely. Well, what I would say as well is then, going on what you said there, I don't necessarily want title versus title, but I think we're getting title versus title. So to give my prediction, I do think Brock Lesnar is going to win this match. I think it would make a lot of sense that they do that. Like you said, for ego, for pride, especially as you predicted in the video, and I think you could be right as well. I think there is a strong possibility that we could be ending the brand split in 2022. And this will be the first dynamic to actually do that, to have Roman on both shows, keep everybody happy. Brock's already a free agent. You do the same eventually then with like your Litas you've got at the moment doing it. Next year, Rondas will be doing it. So you could get all the big names doing that, and then you can sort of fill out the rest of the roster as you want on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and I think as well, even with like lower down the card, the tag team divisions will be more bolstered out. We won't have to constantly have these sort of makeshift teams. Same with the women's side of it. You can have a stronger women's tag team division. You can actually establish teams properly. So even their division looks a lot stronger, because let's be honest, it's probably the most underrated title in, or underutilized title in WWE is the women's tag team titles. Then again, but as well, going forward creatively, like I said earlier, we may finally get this 4 horsewomen's match, which is something everyone's been crying out for God knows how long. And it's the only way to do it, because realistically, booking wise, they're not going to stick Bayley, Sasha, Bianca, and Becky all on one brand, and then have Bianca, Rhea, Asuka, and someone else. Like they've got so many top of the card women's wrestlers now. That's probably the only one downside to ending the brand split, is that they've got 7 top women wrestlers that can all fight for the title. So you try and put 7 women into one title scene, it's really hard. I suppose putting 7 women across 2 brands is easier, but again, it's all down to what they want to do TV-wise, money-wise. Like, they've just made $1 billion in the last year, and if they can keep both their TV networks happy and renew their TV contracts and make even more money, that's what they'll do to do.
Absolutely, indeed. No, you're totally right, indeed. There, we'll have to see how it's going to play out. Well, I'll tell you what, for the last 10 minutes, let's go through the comment section, go through the comments that what everyone's got to say in here, and then we'll wrap things up for us here today. But it's been definitely great to discuss the predictions of this show, and good to hear what everyone else has got to say. Jason says he wants Brock versus Lashley at Mania in the UFC cage for the belt. Why not? I mean, it got a first time ever. I mean, the thing is, the chamber match is kind of perfect for it as well. It's like they're in a cage environment as well. Could that be a dynamic we could see then with Brock and Lashley Lashley. Obviously, it's a different form of a cage, but using the chamber like that to their advantage and their experience of it with UFC and Bellator.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a UFC match though, is it? That's the problem. Like, we don't see suplexes and forearm shots maybe, but we don't see suplexes and we don't see like dives off the top rope and all that kind of stuff in UFC. And I think it's just going to be an interesting dynamic. And I say, I'm a massive fan of stipulation matches. I love chamber matches, ladder matches, anything that's out of the normal necessity for a match. It just adds a unique dynamic. And I say with the chamber, because they've always tried to, they always try to one up themselves every year. That's just going to be the good thing going forward with this year. I want to see, like we had that last year when we had AJ breaking out the pod early to get into the ring quicker. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff I want to see.
Absolutely. No, totally agree. Totally agree with you 100% there. Ben says here that Bobby is winning this match here. So that's his prediction for it. We've got another prediction for Bobby as well. And then almost music hits. And then we see SCWC screaming and cry like the Titanic. I don't know about that. But big man in the place right here. Well, I mean, if they do that, then power to WWE however they want to book it. Matt says, sorry guys, I've got Austin Theory winning. It sounds crazy, but he needs to pull a win, and it pulled a Randy. Come on, Vince. I mean, to be fair, Randy Orton, I compare these two together, Randy Orton and Austin Theory. Randy Orton was a big surprise when he won the title in 2004 at SummerSlam against a superstar who shouldn't be named. So, I mean, they could do something like that, but I just thought it's just a bit too soon. And as you said as well there, Steve, you kind of thought it was a bit soon as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's in this purely for the dynamic to see if he is essentially what Drew McIntyre was all them years ago, to see if he is the new chosen one, to see if he is worth putting the time and effort into. They're just taking it step by step, which is the right way to go, because we don't want to be oversaturated like they have done previously, like essentially when Roman first came into the title scene. When they didn't make him win the Rumble that year, and he ended up losing in the final two, which is what they should have done. They instead went a completely different route, and everyone was just essentially sick and tired of seeing him as this baby face for years and years and years, and that's what they need to avoid with Austin Theory.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree indeed. Jackson says he's got Lashley win, but you know what? Crazy. We've got Brock and Riddle in the match. Who would have ever saw that? But I would still be shocked if he did win. And then RK and Randy RKO's him. Of course, it would be a big surprise. It'd almost be like an Eddie Guerrero from like 2004, which of course I think the anniversary just passed a very short time ago. 18 years since he did that, defeating Brock Lesnar back at No Way Out 2004. But yeah, it would be a big surprise. As I say, neither of us do think it will happen. Jeffrey does say that he thinks that Lashley will win as well. Steve, I'll let you to jump in.
No, I was just going to say, obviously, like, this is the good thing about Chamber. Like, do you remember Shawn Michaels breaking out through the bottom of the cage to kick Undertaker to set up the Mania match?
Yeah.
It's a very good possibility we could get something like that happen again. It's just, this is what's exciting about these kinds of matches. You get these one-off crazy moments where we just get something that we're just not completely expecting.
Absolutely, and especially with a crowd as well that's not used to seeing this sort of stuff either. I think definitely be interesting for them. They would probably probably would make them think, "Whoa, what a big thing!" So definitely could see it happening. It also said, Steve, I know that you're happy Stone Cold is coming back. That's why you say his name. Well, we're happy. Yeah, we're happy he's coming back.
Yeah, I don't personally think he's going to be. I can't for the life of me see it being a one-on-one match. I can see them having some sort of interaction, but then I was trying to think what other sort of superstars are from the Texas area that you could have Kevin Owens go up against at Mania, and there isn't. I don't think there's actually any from Texas. I mean, so yeah, I think we're going to get some sort of interaction with Steve Austin, but a match I am very doubtful of.
The only other one I can think of is The Undertaker. But people that watch this channel for a long time know my theory on this. I think it's time for him to walk away. I would hate to see him have a bad match, and I feel he'd have to come back numerous times again. He wanted to retire. He got it. And let the guy do what he wants to do and just retire now. That'd be my theory on it. But can't believe it's Brock's first chamber match. Of course, yeah. It's shocking, isn't it? But it's great to see. Justin says, oh my God, I got Seth Rollins with him. But then, Steve, we get Seth show up on SmackDown, called out Roman and Brock in the triple threat match. That would be awesome. Winner take all. I mean, that would be like WrestleMania 35, but also be like WrestleMania 31. These three faced at WrestleMania 31 when Seth cashed in the Money in the Bank. This time it would be a proper match. That would be really exciting to see. Would you be down for it?
Best cash in ever of Money in the Bank. best climax, because that Mania match, it was that final match was dead until Seth come out, and it saved the entire show for me when Seth cashed in that Money in the Bank. But yeah, the triple threat night, it makes sense. It's got back history. It's got like back history with all three of them, so it's a dynamic that could come into play. But I think they want the one-on-one match, unfortunately, but would love to see it.
Personally would love to see it and agree with you, but I think, the one-on-one match is where they're going to go. Last few comments we'll go through them. We've got Marshall saying got AJ Styles winning and then Edge music hits. Do it, Vince. We could only hope. That would be quite fun to watch, but as we say, I think it'll be a different way it's going to be booked now. Sup, SCW, I've got Roman coming out and taking down. I'm guessing that's... Roman coming out, attacking Riddle, beating everybody, winning the WWE title on both belts at the Chamber. Internet and Twitter heel heat that with Jericho winning both belts. Do you reckon it could work?
Nah, I just don't. I don't think they'd have Roman come out, replace one of them, and then beat 5 other people, especially with Seth and Brock being 2 of the people, Bobby being another one. AJ Styles as well. It's almost putting Roman Reigns in God tier, and he's just untouchable.
Yeah, totally agree. Rick Mike says here, sup, SCW and Steve. After this, we need Steve advice on Cody Rhodes leaving and Stone Cold coming back. Well, obviously, you've got my viewpoints on that on YouTube already. Obviously, I will say I will actually need to come off the stream in the next few minutes. But Steve, if you can give your quick thoughts of what your feelings with this are.
Stone Cold already just said, well, I don't want to see him have a match. I just wanted to see an interaction with Kevin Owens. Cody Rhodes, I'm really excited for. Hopefully, he becomes the WWE champion that he should have been all those years ago, and he gets the push he finally deserves. From what I hear today, WWE are going to give him a massive push when he comes back. Really excited for it. You said on your Q&A last night, people need to go back and check that out as well. I thought if it was a question, Triple H versus Cody Rhodes at Mania. Triple H's last match in professional wrestling, and that's it. He loses to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes gets massively pushed over from that, and we go on to see the Cody Rhodes that should have been 5 years ago in WWE.
That would be epic to see. And I did read an ODQ report today suggesting the idea, I think it come from PW Torch, that Cody Rhodes is going to be treated as a big deal if Vince can get a hold of him. So that is fascinating.
He's apparently back as early as next week, they reckon, on Raw or SmackDown.
There you go. How exciting. It would be great to have him there. And of course, on the road to WrestleMania, that would be pretty awesome. Samuel Case has got Brock winning, and Wyatt, this is a good thing, but bad. I think good. It will end the brand split, but we'll get everybody on the show. And 2, Roman wins both belts, and Twitter will be melted. Yeah, probably Twitter would probably melt on that. But as well, Bob Williams, you think about that idea in your opinion. If the brand split, how would you book it, and what dream match would you want to see? We have a deal, and thanks, Steve Lowell. So yeah, if we did end the brand split, I suppose right this moment, if you could pick one dream match, just pick one dream match here. It could be for the men and the women. What would it be?
For me, for the women, it's got to be the 4 Horsemen in a fatal 4-way. It has to be, because it's one of the things that's been going on for years. And the other one, because I love tag team wrestling so much, I want a fatal 4-way tag team TLC match, in fact. And I want Grizzled Young Veterans. I want the Usos, I want New Day, and I want MSK. There you go. There's one for me.
Amazing stuff indeed. There, I want that 4 Horsewomen match. I desperately want to see that. For the men, just trying to think off the top of my head, very, very quickly. We've had most of those dream matches already, but yeah, I mean, for me, I think we're going to get Edge versus AJ Styles already. That's the one dream match I would like to see from that. But looking on the Raw versus SmackDown, I guess we could look at Roman and we could look at Raw of that roster against Bobby Lashley. We've not seen that. I think that could be an interesting match. Certainly not seen it in the current dynamics of both of these characters anyway. They did face, I believe it was Extreme Rules a number of years ago, but both have gone leaps and bounds since then. Gemma Silk in house. Steve, can we get an Adam Cole, baby?
Adam Cole, baby!
Oh, yes. Perfect. And thank you very much for watching along as well. Hope you are enjoying the stream. Randy Sam says that Mark Henry went to AEW, and dang it, we could have had Henry versus Owens in Texas. To be fair, it would be time for the main event, wouldn't it, if that was to happen? But yeah, Hall of Pain. I think Pain is definitely coming Owens' way.
Definitely, 100%. We're gonna get some sort of stunner on him. It's gonna be a stun off. That's what it is. Just each other stunning each other until the end of time.
Absolutely, indeed. There, Randy says that. Don't be shocked if we get Miz and Reese versus Cody and Brandy. That would be really cool, wouldn't it? We would be happy with that. Would we be happy?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. And Randy with the last two comments then. Ridge versus AJ can be a good match. I certainly agree with it. Could be a decent match indeed. And Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin versus RK Bro for the tag belts. Perfect. There we are. That's pretty much everything there. So yeah, thanks to everyone that's been watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Just to say very, very quickly, if you can hit the like button at the end of this video, would be really, really grateful. Helps the channel grow in all the formats. Want to hit the monetization goal. That's pretty much what the aim of the game is now on SCW. Subscribe as well if it's your first time watching as well. If you just hit over 1.5k, would love to get it now towards the 2,000 milestone. And as well as that, also drop a comment if there's anything we're not discussed about in this video that you'd like to, or if you're watching on demand, drop your predictions in the comments. Would love to know your thoughts and opinions. Look forward to interacting with you. But Steve, of course, you've been on Jonesy Chats Wrestling recently. Could we see a potential maybe return for you at some point doing some videos?
Yeah, I'm eventually sort of trying to line my own stuff up. What I want to do is with the new 2K game coming out, is I want to start doing some content that's based around that as well. So hopefully around March 8th, March 9th, 10th, whenever the game is at, I'm going to start doing some stuff with that, hopefully. So yeah, just watch this space for that.
Absolutely, very much exciting. Of course, we'll get you on again around that time period as well. And yeah, definitely give it a shout and a plug as well. Be very, very exciting indeed. But that's all from us, away. Thank you everyone for watching. And yeah, have yourselves a great day. Thank you for all the comments, everyone that's been watching. As we say, you're awesome. Thank you. We really do appreciate you giving your opinions and sharing with us what you think. Honestly, it really, really does mean a lot. But enjoy the rest of your day. Of course, like I say, the live Q&A from me is already on the channel I did yesterday. The thoughts on Cody and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Impact Wrestling, if you're a fan of No Surrender, those predictions will be coming as well in the next 24 hours. And yeah, have yourselves a good one. Enjoy Elimination Chamber. The review will be on this channel on Sunday. All the best. Take care. We'll see you next time. Take care.